Welcome back, everybody. You're watching KGTR. I'm Tony, and today we got another special treat. We're going to go over some old vintage issues of Hit Parader. This particular issue is from October 2006 from my personal collection, and it is Hit Parader Salutes the 80s. An inside look at the bands that rocked a decade. As you all know, most of the YouTube metal channels all follow 80s metal. From Van Halen, Iron Maiden, Slayer, Wasp, Kiss, Rat, you name it, 80s metal rules. It still rules. This is 2025, and we're still talking about 80s metal 40 years later from 1985. 1985 was a great year also. All right, so we're going to go ahead and revisit classic vintage Hit Parader magazine. This one is a salute to the 80s in heavy metal, an inside look at the bands that rocked a decade. All right, so come with me. We're going to revisit this issue page by page. We're going to look at all the images, all the bands, any advertisements. We're going to goof on them, comment on them. Any questions, comments, or feedback, go ahead and leave them below. All right, all new subscribers, thank you and welcome. And stay tuned shortly for some guitar tones, more concert reviews, and apparently now you guys are craving these vintage magazine reviews. All right, let's go ahead and begin with Hit Parader Salutes the 80s. All right, so let's get to it. All right, as you can see, look at this glorious front cover of Hit Parader Salutes the 80s. You got Ozzy Osbourne, you got Warrant, you got Metallica, you got Eddie Van Halen, you got Ronnie James Dio. They're just cropping all these vintage awesome bands from the 80s. Remember, this is 2006. So back in 2006, fans, editors, and magazines were still craving the 80s. The 80s metal was probably the best decade all around for 80s metal. Obviously, that's what it is, 80s metal. But, I just love it. All right, so that's the front cover. Let's go ahead and check out each page, and we'll go ahead and goof on it. Again, leave your comments, questions, and feedback below, and let's get to it. Right, as you can see, we're going to get some advertisements for 2006. The Open Door, October 3rd, 2006. There's an ad for Tama Drums, Superstar on Tour. Mike Justin, I think that is. So check that out. He promotes Tama Drums. Right here, look at his little face right there. Obviously, it's some type of pose, but there you go. A nice little ad, or silhouette right here. Look at her little flowing dress. She's looking back like, follow me if you dare. That's what she's saying. So, what else? All right, Hit Parader. There we got the contents, as you can see. And then we got Supreme Tone over here. Look, the vintage Gibson Les Paul right here. Here they are promoting their album. So this looks like to be a very good issue. All right, what's next? Okay, we read your mail. So back then in 2006, bands were still submitting their mail or emails. And then here the editor is answering the emails on the latest bands. What was that band called? Oh yeah, the Darkness. I couldn't see that far. The Darkness. So there you got the Darkness right here. You got Diecast. And there we go, reading the fans' email. Now we'll get to the nitty-gritty of the best band. But here we go. More email. Brand New Sin, debut. Draven, Short, Strapping Young Lad. Another debut right here. Another advertisement. Pretty cool. Remember, these are the bands from 2006 in this issue. All right, here's another section of the magazine called Caught in the Tool. Or Caught in the Act Tool, the band Tool. Mushroom Head. So there's another advertisement for this band right here. Pretty cool graphics right there. He's all in blue. So what's up with the blue? What's up with the blue? All right, here we go. I don't know if that's 501Z or 5011, but Shooting Stars. So these are up and coming stars. And here's 501Z. I think that's a Z right here. And then It Dies Today, their debut album. Another album here. So check this out if you're into this. Revolver right here. All right. Then we got Pick Hit. So high-powered bullets and octane right here. Look at this nice group shot right there. It talks about the band. You're into trinkets and some costume jewelry, metal jewelry, you know, with the skulls and snakes and the teeth right here. And some crosses right here with some blood daggers. This is the place to order. What else we got here? They Said It. Again, some more commentary of the latest ins and out of bands. Here's Twin Method. They're all posing here. So check it out now. So nice group shot right there. Right, Damone, All Night Long. So yeah, I'm a girl. But what's the point? So they're showcasing this band, Damone. So everything for the rocker right here. Look at Eddie Van Halen right there. Look at Randy Rhoads. This will probably be Edgar Winter. Let's see. Got Zach Wilde right there. I think this may be Dimebag Darrell. And I don't know if that's George Lynch, but I can't see that far. So Musician's Friend. Everything for the rocker. So check out Musician's Friend. Alright, here we go. So based on this issue, we got, in no particular order, but here they are covering Motley Crue, Wild in the Streets. We got Nick D6 right there. Look at that. Awesome. Now, again, many people would cut out right here, and then they would put this picture right there on their walls. That's what we did back in the 80s. That's what everyone did. And the 70s also. So here we got Motley Crue. These are basically the best bands of the 80s, how we remember the 80s. And they were, again, they're not in any particular order, but here we go. There's Motley Crue. So if you're a fan of Motley Crue, good article there. Next up, they had Rat, the Rockin' Rodents. Isn't that cool? Another great group shot right there. This guy right here is the king. This guy, underrated guitar hero. Underrated. He just didn't have enough catalog. His catalog was pretty much all with Rat, and he was awesome, but it would have been great had he done stuff outside of Rat annually, every other year, or release some stuff. And this guy is a monster. He's a terror. Nobody can replicate him. No one can play like him. Nobody sounds like him. That's how you know you're good. There's a lot of people that sound like Yngwie, Eric Johnson, Eddie Van Halen, and that's all fine. It shows some talent and skill. But no one out there can play like Warren DeMartini. Nobody. If there is someone out there on YouTube, point me to the link or the video that can play, has the feel of Warren, and I'll check it out. So again, another great band in the 80s. You got Motley Crue, and then you got Rat. So talks about Rat right there. Poison. Now, as a guitar player, I wasn't that great of a fan of Poison because of CC DeVille. And yes, every guitar player out there in high school, college, or junior high, or in your neighborhood, you all believed you were a better guitar player than CC DeVille. Because CC DeVille sucked. As a shredder. He sucked as a shredder. Now, I'm sure he was a good songwriter. He had some good riffs. And I'm not saying I'm better than CC DeVille. But back in the 80s, when we were learning Randy Rhoads and Eddie Van Halen, we were learning Gary Moore and Yngwie Malmsteen, solos note for note, Randy Rhoads. We're like, this blows away CC DeVille. So here's Poison blowing up the charts. And they got this crappy guitar player. We're like, shoot, I should be in Poison. That's what every guitar player felt like. I know they did. Because I was around many of those. We all believed we were better than CC DeVille. But Poison was good for their time. Great hairband metal. A lot of fun. But as a guitar player, everyone thought he sucked. They just did. Shred-wise. Not that he's a crappy guitar player overall. So I hope I'm not bagging on CC. And yes, he can write songs better than me. I'm just saying, back then, in the 80s, we're young and stupid. Many of us believed we were better than CC DeVille, and we were. And we were in our bedrooms and garages playing. Here he is touring the world. Like, man, that guy sucks. But there's Poison. Let's see action. I want action. So, Bret Michaels, pretty cool. Look at the hair. He was always trying to be like David Lee Roth when they came out, Poison. So they compared him to David Lee Roth. Guns N' Roses. And they were in the late 80s, obviously. Right before the grunge. So these guys came late, but they came in just in the nick of time. any later, then they would have pretty much fell flat. And so there's Guns N' Roses, and there's Slash. I think that's pretty much BC Rich right here. I like the BC Rich. I love BC Rich. So Guns N' Roses kicked ass at the very tail end of the 80s. And again, it was already a wash at the time, but it was a lot of fun. Lita Ford. Look at this guitar. There's Lita. This guitar, I believe, I don't know if it's a Mockingbird. I don't know I know there's a Warlock and a Mockingbird and other names, but this shape right here, I think I remember this shape when it was pink, and the husband Neil Giraldo, husband of Pat Benatar, he had a video. I forgot the damn song. Anyways, he had a pink BC Rich, and I love that pink BC Rich. And then I think later on, Paul Gilbert had a BC Rich. I think he did. But this shape right here is probably my favorite BC Rich guitar shape. I wouldn't mind having this guitar. Can you imagine if Guitar Gardens Firefly? Oh, I just realized it. So anyone out there who's in touch with Firefly guitars, like I'm getting off of Lita Ford. I love it. No, Lita Ford was good. She can play. She was good. But look, this guitar, wouldn't this be great? A shape for Guitar Gardens Firefly to do like their own version. And this right here would be a Firefly, headstock, whatever. But they could easily do this shape, like a variation of it, for a Firefly guitar. I think it would sell. I would definitely buy it if it was a Firefly, because these things are way too expensive. I don't think they're worth like $1,200, $2,000. Not for a BC Rich, but the most I pay for a BC Rich is probably like $4.99. But good luck getting that used. But if Firefly can come up with a BC Rich design model, that'd be cool. So, but that's a badass guitar. This guitar was metal in the 80s. All right, and let's not forget. Remember these bands right here? We have LA Guns. We have Trickster. We have Slaughter. See? Look at these bands right here. Don't forget them. These are all part of the 80s right here. Look at these poses. But remember, this was already in the late 80s. It was saturated. 80s metal was saturated. Some people thought it was a joke, but if you looked at MTV, and MTV wasn't the same anymore either, but you remember they had Headbangers Ball, and then soul people, rap people had to have their own show, Yo MTV Raps, and you're giving more airtime to Headbangers Ball. No, you're giving more time to Yo MTV Raps. And so they were competing for airtime. And then the mainstream MTV disappeared. Then you had VH1 and all that stuff. But again, these bands were late to the party. They made some impact, but again, it was like too saturated, too little, too late. And the hair, none of these are hair glam. They were just pretty much wearing jeans and torn stuff. But there's some good bands here. Some good hits, but let's not forget these bands right here. Here's some more paraphernalia. Look at this article. If you get a chance to read this article, check it out. The 80s, the West Coast explosion, Dokken, friendly fire. And look at this, Now this picture right here looks like honestly, well this is, in fairness, was released in 2006. But this image right here is total lynch mob. But since they're reminiscing about the 80s, here's Dokken during the In My Dreams. Remember he wore that hat in the video In My Dreams? So that's clearly from that era, 85. But this right here is like 1990-91 George Lynch with that guitar right here. But this guitar is like Monsters of Rock. But that outfit right here is the hair in the outfit. I'm talking about George's outfit. His hair right here, his flowing blonde hair. And this vest is from the Lynch Mob era. This guitar he brought out during the Monsters of Rock era of 88, the tour. And he kicked ass on that one. So this is a great article about Dokken. 80s metal was not metal without Dokken. Dokken was awesome. It's just, they were awesome. Dokken and Rat, they went hand in hand. I would listen to a lot of Rat and Dokken and Rat, because the early Warren DeMartini was reminiscent to George Lynch. I'm like, whoa, that sounds like Lynch. Whoa, that sounds like Warren. and we all know the history of those two. But oh, they were awesome. Quiet Riot. Quiet Riot, Def Leppard, and Motley Crue exploded the tail end of 82, early 83 with Metal Health, and then Shadow of the Devil, and then Pyromania. Those 3 albums kickstarted 80s metal, which later became the Yes Festival. You had Ozzy Osbourne with J.K. Lee. You had Triumph in there. You had, of course, Van Halen. You had Scorpions, Judas Priest. So, Quiet Riot, you cannot forget about Carlos Cavazos. There he is. Look at his long hair. Rest in peace, Kevin Dubrow. I think you have Frankie Banali on drums, if I'm not mistaken. I can be wrong. But, yeah, Quiet Riot. I love early Quiet Riot. Again, more rockabilly, not junk, but if you're into merchandising, here you go. So not bad. And this, Wasp, I love Wasp. And remember, 1986, the video in the project We're Stars, World Hunger with Ronnie James Dio and all the guitar players. Wasp was in there also as a singer. And so there we go, Wasp. Calculated Chaos. Great band live, great songs. In your face, it was raw. I love Wasp. Wasp is good. Can't get enough of Wasp. So check out what. Look at this. These are nice posters. You go back over here. Let's see where we're at. Look, that makes a nice poster too. So all these, this issue has some nice little cutouts right there. If you're into the cutouts. So next we got again Bon Jovi. They broke out huge in '86. Slippery When Wet. That one put them on the map. I remember they opened up for Dokken, who opened up for Dio at the San Diego Sports Arena. It was Bon Jovi, Dokken, and Dio. And out of nowhere, Bon Jovi starts headlining well before Dokken does. Probably because of, people thought Bon Jovi was hot. They thought Richie Sambora was hot. So it brought a lot of girls and basically, they sold a lot of tickets because of the front man, Bon Jovi. Dokken didn't have that front man quality in Don Dokken. He could sing, but people loved the look of Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora together. And they wrote some good hits, but I prefer Dokken over Bon Jovi. But sadly, Bon Jovi was already headlining well before Dokken. So, remember Dokken came out in 82, 83. They didn't start headlining until 87, 88. And these guys were already headlining in 86, 87. So, not bad for Bon Jovi. Again, you can't have 80s metal without Kiss. From the 70s, the 80s, they were there. The 90s, they're still there with Not the Makeup. The 2000s, they're still relevant. 2010, 2020s, and on and on and on. They were there to play, and they outlasted pretty much 90%, 95% of the 80s bands that came out in the 80s. All those bands that came out in the 80s, like the Teslas and the Warrants and the Tricksters and all those bands, or the Kingdom Comes, they came and went, right? When grunge came, Kiss was still there. They did some unplugged to stay relevant, but Kiss was doing Kiss if bands still wanted to see metal. So Kiss, you gotta hand it to bands like Kiss and the Rolling Stones, regardless what the mood of the music industry is. Kiss were always beating to their own drum, and so there they were. They outlasted the 70s, they outlasted the 80s and the 90s, and on and on and on. And Kiss, until recently, finally broke up. And but there they were, right there in the thick of it. Several guitar changes, drummer changes, Gene and Paul. Obviously, the real Kiss is with Ace and Peter, but Paul and Gene, they kept it going for 45, 50 years. That's amazing. Oh, Skid Row. This guy had some pipes. Look at that rail thin body right here. But this guy had some pipes and he can belt it and scream. So Skid Row, again, came in late. I believe 87, 88. But a good following too, because they were very heavy. But he was a great frontman for the band because you came to see him sing. The guitar player was good, quite good, but you knew of Skid Row because of Sebastian Bach right here. So this guy was good. All right, Aerosmith, just like Kiss, they were relevant in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and on and on and on. And they had monster hits in '87. Remember, they had, what do you call it, Hot Rocks in the 70s, Sweet Emotion in the 70s. Then they kind of fizzled away. Maybe they disbanded or had a break. But then like in '87, '88, they just blew up MTV and had #1 hits. And they were like, you know, doing their own thing too, staying relevant. So then you had grunge and Aerosmith still doing Aerosmith. And then they ventured with rap and it worked really well. So kudos to Steven Tyler and Joe Perry. Over here we got Dio and the Dragon Slayer. Dio again stayed relevant, doing his own thing. People loved their metal. And a lot of bands came and went. Several lineups in Dio, but you went to go see Dio because of Ronnie and his voice. And whoever he happened to have as guitar player, you knew it was going to be a good guitar player. But a lot of bands you come for the guitarist, a lot of bands you come for the lead singer, and Dio was one of those. He did not disappoint. So Dio was a great frontman. Again, this was the insert of the back cover right here. Side look bands of the decade. And there you got Metallica. This is just like a throwaway shot with little pictures here. There's the front cover again. That was an insert right here. So let's see, obviously this one matches this one right here. So there you go. And then we just saw the Aerosmith cutout earlier. So there's the front cover. Moving on. There's another insert. There's we just saw that one with Ozzy Osbourne. And look right here. You got what's his name? Tommy Aldridge. And you got David Coverdale. And you got Steve Vai. Look at that. So this is metal, buddy. Metal. When metal ruled. Alright. Pantera. And look at this guitar. Look at this. Rest in peace. This guy was a beast. He was a monster. Dimebag Darrell right here. And his signature Dean guitar. That shape. Like an offshoot of a star. Whatever that shape is called. But this became him. Dimebag. Pantera. Thrashing, crunching. Gave Megadeth, Metallica a run for their money. Pantera can bring it like no other. Pantera. And of course we had the Mighty Van Halen. That's why they always call the Mighty Van Halen. And again, like Kiss, many 80s bands came and went. There was Van Halen in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and on and on and on. Different lineups, different singers, different bass players. But pretty much Van Halen was Eddie Van Halen. There's Van Halen with David Lee Roth, and then there's Van Hagar. So people have their camps. Some people prefer Hagar to David Lee Roth. Some people like the entire package. I prefer the David Lee Roth because it was less keyboards. Jump had a lot of keyboards, and then every album after that had keyboards. I don't care for keyboards in metal. I love keyboards in techno and new wave. I don't care for keyboards in heavy metal. And so when you start doing keyboard stuff, it turns me off. It really turns me off. So that's why, but Van Halen was still good. They still wrote some amazing songs. Again, you went to go see Eddie the King. Scorpions, again, just like Kiss, Aerosmith. They were there every single decade, staying relevant, doing their own thing. Not following the trend of, oh, let's do some grunge. Oh, let's do some progressive crap. Oh, let's wear flannel shirts. No. They kept it true. Klaus Meine, Rudolf Schenker, Matthias Jabs, kicking ass, world tours in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. The Scorpions did not disappoint. There again, Ozzy Osbourne, again, doing his own thing. No grunge, but just pure metal. From Randy Rhoads to Bernie Torme to Brad Gillis to Jakey Lee to Zach Wilde, and then some other guitar players, I forgot their names, and then back to Zach Wilde. So there's Ozzy doing his own thing, staying relevant. Def Leppard, they were, again, the top 3 bands that kicked off 80s metal was Def Leppard, and then you had Quiet Riot and Motley Crue. And going to high school in 82, 83, you heard that on the radio, MTV, and it was awesome. It was incredible. You turned it up in your car, your truck, your boombox. You had cassette tapes. You were playing Def Leppard, Van Halen, Motley Crue, Quiet Riot. You were playing Scorpions. You're playing Judas Priest. And 80s metal was born. And then the concerts and the black t-shirts all over school and campus. And then you're collecting black t-shirts. And then you're smoking weed in the garage, playing guitars, learning the riffs, and getting busted. I remember all that. I love it. I love it. Look, don't forget them. Look, here we got Motorhead, right? And then we got Saxon. You got Europe. And I can't read that little fine print right there. Oh, Winger, I think. And then, okay, so you can't forget them. So don't forget these bands. There are a lot of bands in the 80s. Again, it started getting saturated. But 82, 83, that was the demarcation, or the beginning. 82, 83. Remember that, because before the S Festival, that's when you already had Quiet Riot, heavy rotation MTV, Def Leppard, heavy rotation, and Motley Crue with Shout at the Devil. Those 3 bands were like just tearing it up. And then the S Festival, and then metal, and then Rat comes out out of nowhere, and then Dokken, and then you got like Loudness. That's awesome. And then you got Night Ranger. Remember that Night Ranger? Look at that, Whitesnake. Look at Whitesnake with David Coverdale. And then you had what was the guitar player? The first guitar player. I forgot. The first guitar player before Vivian Campbell. I forgot his name already. Anyways, but Whitesnake was awesome. Great singer, great guitarist in Whitesnake. It was a great band. Here you have Iron Maiden, but over here you have Rob Halford of Judas Priest. This is an awesome photo. Look at the lasers, and then with that famous Rob Halford pose, all in leather. So this right here is the 82 era. This is Screaming for Vengeance era. So if there's they had it on MTV, the Screaming for Vengeance tour. I have it on DVD. It's incredible performance. But this right here is Screaming for Vengeance. You can tell. You got another thing coming right here. So you have Iron Maiden, very big in the 80s, and you have Judas Priest over here. Again, AC/DC doing their own thing in the 70s, the 80s, and 90s, and on and on and on. So Angus Young, just kicking ass. Oh, that was another band. They were right before so AC/DC was before Quiet Riot, Def Leppard, and Motley Crue. But you had to include them in the mix because they were good. They were loud and heavy. They were so good. Slayer, again, middle to late 80s. A lot more harder, thrashier, great riffs, a lot of great riffs. You went for the guitar. The singer was also pretty good. There they are right here. But Slayer kicked ass. You have Megadeth and so on. Oh, Metallica. Now they got really big in the 90s, Metallica. So they were inching their way during the 80s, but they got really big towards the late 80s, 90s, and they took off. So when grunge was doing grunge, Metallica was doing their own thing. So there's Metallica, raising the bar each time. You had Metallica, you had Iron Maiden competing for the heavy bands. Again, you had Slayer. Don't forget Anthrax. Anthrax is saying, hey, what about us? This guy was super small. He's like 4'11", 5'2", or 4'11" right here. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Anthrax is pretty good. Very fast paced. In your face band. Very good. 80s. So check them out. Again, all these bands are going through. They're on YouTube. Their studio albums as well as their live footage and bootlegs. Here we got Megadeth with Dave Mustaine. Dave Mustaine means business. Look at that. And look at those little Nike shoes. The ones that they got for free. So they're there right there. And let's not forget that we got Warrant. We got Striper. Remember Striper? And then we have Accept. Remember Accept and Tesla. Oh, VampireFreaks.com. I don't know if they're still around. Remember, these websites were back in 2006. So, but let's not forget these bands. Again, there was tons of bands. Oh, Tony, what about this band? I was telling you what's in this issue. All right? But notice how Dokken was in there and Rat. That's all I care about. Now, I didn't see Loudness. Where's Loudness? Where's Striper? Where's their little section? Because they were part of the 80s. Loudness is pretty huge also. From the Vault, look at Winger. Now, everyone knows, single-handedly, Beavis and Butthead destroyed, killed Winger. Because Beavis and Butthead were wearing, what, AC/DC t-shirts? They're supposed to be cool and hip. And here's this little nerd wearing a Winger shirt, and they picked on him and made fun of him. And you had Winger. And ever since that, people made fun of Winger. Maybe because this guy right here was doing ballet, dance moves, at a heavy metal concert, playing bass. So people are like, what? And then look, right here. This is clearly from the video Maniac. Not Footloose, but women used to wear tank tops with a tank top hanging right there. So this right here is like a look of a woman. And then you had ballet shoes or sock warmers, leg warmers. And then he was doing ballet moves with the bass. So if he didn't do that, they would have been made goofed on. But Winger was still good because of Red Beach. So you went to go see Winger because of Red Beach. But here they are, the Malt. Again, here's Ozfest 2005. This issue was 2006, but there's a poster magazine of Ozfest from 2005. Again, in the front pages, advertising this band right there. Again, more if you're into junk, I'll just call it junk. Paraphernalia, merchandise, that's the word. Not junk, but merchandise. That's where you order it. Back issues right here. Here's some back issues. Pay $5. Now remember, magazines back then in 2006, they were $5. I remember I paid like $2.95 in the 70s. I paid like $2.95 back in the 70s. 75, 76, 77. It's like $3. And I remember magazines were okay at $5. Now they're like $17.95. Like, forget that. I'll never pay for a guitar magazine $18-20. It's like, forget that. So here we got Korn. We got Slipknot. Okay, Korn and Slipknot. Again, very heavy, very thrashy. But if you like that type of thrash metal, then that's for you. Again, Toys in the Attic. Remember Aerosmith? So here's the popular Led Zeppelin. Sadly, it burned down. Now, this movie, Tamara, if you haven't seen Tamara, it's good. Check it out. It's on. It may be on YouTube, but you can probably stream it somewhere. Tamara is a great movie. The girl is hot. She's like the ugly duckling. They pick on her, and I guess she's possessed by a witch or demonic forces. And then she becomes this incredible bombshell beauty and goes out for revenge, killing people. Killing the people that tormented and made fun of her. So if you picked on her or crossed her path, Tamara was going to kill you. But she was so seductive and beautiful that you thought, she's not going to kill me. But then, kiss her, then she'd kill you. So Tamara is really good. Speed Racer, if you grew up in the 70s, this came out in the late 60s, you'll love Speed Racer. Great cartoon from Japan. Again, more Slipknot with Korn. Okay, I don't care for the mask because it must get really hot in there. Must stink in there. You're playing under the lights and you'll be sweating all day. No, I don't do masks. And I can't even get into Slipknot or Korn. I'm sorry, that's just not me. Because I like melodies and catchy tunes and hooks. And this is all and that, I don't do that. So just letting you know. Alright, so here's some back in 2006. Digitech. Remember Digitech? I am sure they're still around, but they're just not as popular. These are effect pedals for Digitech right here. Look at the microphone right there from Shure. Now look right here. We got some Ibanez right here. Was it Ibanez? Yeah, we got some Ibanez Signature Series. And look at this right here. We have a guide to the latest gear, PV. Now obviously it's not a Telecaster, but it's like a warped version of their Telecaster, right? So they'll get no trademark copyright. They start modifying the shape. Clearly looks influenced, inspired by a Telecaster. A little fat right here. It's too fat for me. So I can never get into this. So I don't know if I don't think PV sold that much of these. I really don't. It's kind of ugly. You know, it's just right here. It's too much of a fat ass right here. And whereas the Telecaster is probably a lot more sleeker. But this is too fat. Right here is too fat. So I'm not into that. So. Alright, Aiden, another advertisement. Here's the instrumentally speaking. Here's some drums right there. So if you're into reviews of Tama and Evans, that's for you. Alright, and this is the very end of the issue of what we just covered. So, those were the metal bands of the 80s that ruled the world. And this issue again was from October 2006. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, let me know. Leave them below in the comments. Let me know what your favorite bands were in the 80s. Who were you listening to most back then? Who are you listening to right now? And I can honestly tell you right here, on my iPod, it's all 80s metal. Every artist, every album, every song on my iPod of 80s metal. Every band. And it's incredible. I love it. I love it. I should go over a list of what I have. It's here somewhere. In another video, I'll go over everything that I have on my iPod. But yeah, so let me know below your favorite memories, if you have any, of the 80s and your favorite bands. And what are your favorite bands to this day? Because I still listen to the Beatles, 60s British pop, 80s techno new wave, and 80s metal. So all this new stuff from like the 90s on, I really don't care for. I never even followed it. So if you rattled off this band or this hit, I'm like, what? So maybe, but we all love our own music. So I'm still stuck in the 80s, and I still love 80s metal. Alright, thanks for joining me. Stay tuned for more videos. And again, any questions, comments, or feedback, leave them below. Thanks everybody, and I'll see you folks real soon.